I have to put myself on the stream before I have to put myself on there before we actually can start the show. Everybody, you are back in the limelight. I am so excited about today's show because I have one of the coolest stories I think I've heard in a very long time. But before we get to that, I do want to remind you, I am Clarissa Burt. You are here in the limelight. You can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeart Radio, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and Podbean. You can watch the video over on Binge Networks, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV. We're on Google Play, Daily Motion, and another 100 smart TV apps. Yes, we are. I want to remind you also that you can read the magazine. There we are in the limelight with Clarissa. It is intelligent media for the savvy entrepreneur. And we've got Lady Fiona Carnarvon on our cover this quarter. She is the lady, along with Lord, that own Highclere Castle in England. And you might better know Highclere Castle as Downton Abbey. Yeah, and then we've got my news desk. So we love our friends over at my news desk. My business has grown incrementally thanks to all of the news releases and press releases that I can put out to journalists all over the world. So exciting stuff going on there. All right. So get ready, buckle in, because I've heard a lot of people speak before, and I don't know this gentleman. We've just met, but I want to talk to him about, number one, an $80 million gamble, and then the Johnny Carson show. Some of us might be a little too young to remember I remember the Johnny Carson show. I used to watch it every night before I went to sleep as a kid. So I'm going to bring him on. Terry Rich, welcome to In the Limelight. What an extraordinary life you have led, sir.
Holy smokes. Yeah, I started out in cable television with a cable company, a New York Stock Exchange company. We helped create MTV and CNN along with many others. So that was a lot of fun. And then when we cashed out at age 40, I started my own television production companies. Have done a lot of different things. But I decided to retire at 50, and the governor called me and said, "Would you like to run a zoo?" I grew up on a farm. Giraffes are kind of like cows. So I did that. And then finally I got another call and said, "Would you run the lottery?" And so I got to give away over $1 billion in prizes during my 10 years, and then hit this crazy case called the $80 billion gamble.
Unbelievable. Well, we're going to be talking a lot about Ed Tipton. That was his name? Eddie Tipton. That was, I think that was our key guy there. And one of the things that I really loved that you said today was, I loved all your ding, ding, dings. I thought that was really cool. Ding, ding, ding. Do you want to be a witness or do you want to be a defendant? So tell us a little bit about that story, because it is an extraordinary case.
Well, when I was lottery director, we get jackpots all the time, and different people call in, and you do some backup and some checks. So when people call in, you can verify that they won. Mm-hmm. Well, this individual bought a ticket in a convenience store, and we had the video. We knew what it looked like, but a month later, no one claimed the prize. 2 months later, you have 12 months to claim a prize of this kind. And ultimately, we got a call from a lawyer who said, "Hey, I bought it. I'm just going to send you the ticket. You send me the money." Ding, ding, ding. This sounds just a little screwy. Well, when it all ended up, the lawyer was representing another lawyer in New York, who was representing a lawyer in Houston, Texas, who represented his client, who was best friends of a guy that was in charge of all the security for the multi-state lottery, which programs this particular game. And we knew, ding, 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 something was up.
Some more ding, ding, dings going on. And the next thing you know, it leads back to a gentleman by the name of Eddie Tipton. And he was the guy that was actually writing the code for the lottery. And I think this is a pretty big federal offense when you're doing something like that, because when you work with the lottery, you can have absolutely nothing to do with it. You, your family, and anyone else affiliated cannot play the lottery.
That's right. And we knew something was screwy, but it took us almost 3 years to get to Eddie. And how we ultimately found Eddie was that we released that video when he bought the ticket. And he bought 2 hot dogs when he bought it. And that was his part of his downfall. We always say it was a ticket, 2 hot dogs, and Bigfoot that helped crack this case. Yeah. And when we released the tape, everybody came out of the woodwork. Hey, wait a minute. That's Eddie Tipton. So when we figured it out and we got him on trial, this just was a kind of a small one-state deal to begin with. We got him on trial. He was crazy enough to have his brother come up and testify. And his brother said, "That can't be my brother. He don't eat hot dogs. He ain't a hot dog guy." Yeah. And when that happened, an AP reporter thought that was crazy. Here's a 400-pound guy. He doesn't eat hot dogs. So they put it out on the national wires, and an FBI agent said, "Wait a minute, that's the same guy we were investigating, the guy that was his brother testifying on his behalf."
Right.
We arrested him for money laundering, or we were going to until he told us he won the lottery. Well, wait a minute. Maybe he was involved in this. So they called up, and all of a sudden, we now have 7 or 8 states involved, and it became one heck of a national
I'll
story.
bet it did. And you're the guy that cracked that code, which is really extraordinary. That must be a really big feather in your cap. That's a big.
I hope no one ever has to go through it. I'll tell you what. Anytime, I don't care if it's a murder or a big assault. Very rarely do you get closure on a big case like this. You know, most people, it took us 8 years, and every day I doubted. I had friends that say, hey, you're messing with our money. That's how we came up with the $80 billion gamble, because that's how much money is spent on lottery tickets. And they thought, just pay it, you know, and no, it just doesn't feel right. And so ultimately we did this whole event and put it all together and cracked the case of the $80 billion gamble. And
well, you know, and I know for you, it wasn't easy for you, Terry, because I know that you lost some friends along the way, and you had to go against the grain, and you came out on top by saying something very simple, which I wish a lot of us would live by, and that is, you just have to do the right thing. Just do the right thing, and that was doing the right thing. So my hat is off to you, sir.
Thank you so much. It was a crazy deal. And of course, Bigfoot just was icing on the cake, because his brother was a Bigfoot hunter, and that's how they found people to actually be able to crack this case. Is
that the craziest thing on the planet? And not only, here's the other really crazy thing in the whole case, is that in Iowa at the time, when Eddie went in and bought that ticket, there were only 4 convenience stores in the whole state that had video at the time.
So that had video and audio, and it was the audio that cracked it, because he actually disguised himself in a hoodie and kind of stunk down like that, but it was.
You heard him on audio as well. You heard this voice, so that was probably unbelievable stuff.
And here's the other crazy thing, Clarissa, is that there are only 7 states in the U.S. that will allow you to buy a ticket and claim it anonymously. We're one of the few states that doesn't. So if you'd have purchased this ticket in one of those 7 states, you probably have gotten by with it.
So let's talk about Dare to Dream, Dare to Act.
I wrote a book in all of these years, because I'm really a marketer. I wasn't really so much a fraud and ethics expert. I'm a marketer, and Dare to Dream, Dare to Act talks about how to come up with new ideas within an organization. And I liken it when I went out to the wine country in California, that, I thought they just picked the wine out, or the grapes out of their backyard. And no, they don't. They go all over the valley to look for the best grapes for the wine they want to do, to get that award-winning wine. And what I realized was, if you're brainstorming, everybody brainstorms, but if everybody around the table looks like you, acts like you, you're not going to get the best ideas, especially in today's diverse economy and all the clients you have. So you put 100 ideas together, that's daring to dream. And then you get everybody together and prioritize what you think the best ones are. And that's daring to act.
Right. I kind of like the one where it says, if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. It's kind of along those, it's kind of along those same lines, right?
Yeah. And then you add to it failure. And I always say it's better to have tried and failed than to succeed at doing nothing. And that's where the Johnny Carson story actually comes in.
Yeah, I want to get all about that one. But before we do that, just really quickly, one of the things that you also said, going back to the Tipton story and the lottery, was, there's a lot more going on in the way of fraud within the company than actually without the company, which I thought was a little shocking to me. And I'm sure it's shocking to most.
Well, if you think about it, you hear a lot about fraud. What is it? A little church where the secretary writes the POs, the purchase orders, and then also pays the check. Or even small school districts have very little checks and balances. And there's a triangle that the fraud examiners show, that first you have to have financial opportunity or financial needs. So everybody wants more money, but maybe they're gambling, maybe they're divorced, whatever. You have a financial need. And then there's opportunity. Eddie had all the keys to the kingdom. And so in those small school districts or churches, if you write the purchase order and you write the checks, it's a pretty big check mark together with a financial need that you may have fraud. But the final one is the hardest one to think about, and that's rationale. At what point did the little devil on your shoulder say, go ahead, you deserve it? And if you put those 3 together, you're pretty apt to get fraud internally.
Yeah, exactly. So what would you say? I mean, at this point, after that case, and have people sort of hunkered down and gotten smarter about things? I know you're helping to do that.
Yeah, well, from the lottery side, absolutely. We did a lot of things to change it so that one person didn't write the code and the same person compile it and then maintain the computer that did the drawing. So, you separate it out. We got smarter, but we also, that's kind of what I'm doing now, is on the road talking to a lot of people, just saying, everybody's worried about hacking, but internal fraud's just as big.
Yeah, absolutely. So what lottery games have the best odds?
Say that one more time.
Which of the lottery games do have the best odds?
The best odds. Okay, that's a good one. Scratch tickets, especially the highest price scratch tickets, typically have the best odds. They're around 70, 75%. You'll have winners. Now, that's the $30, $50 scratch tickets. The $1 scratch ticket will have about 62 to 65. And Powerball Mega Millions, 50%. But they're all designed for different reasons. The scratch tickets are for the instant win. It's kind of like a slot machine. You win, you play, you win, you play. Where Powerball and Mega, the majority of the money goes into those big jackpots because there are a lot of dreamers out there that would love to win the big jackpot. So you put more money aside for the jackpot.
At the end of the day, how long did Eddie Tipton go into prison for? Or is he
got up to 25 years. He gets his first shot at parole at about 4 or 5, which is actually this fall. So it'll be interesting because I think he's I think already agreed to be in a documentary, and we'll have some fun stories when it's all said and done.
But you'll be keeping a close eye on him, I'm sure.
Yeah, sounds like a Tiger Woods story to me, or Tiger Woods, the Tiger King story to me.
Tiger Woods. Right? Yeah, the Tiger King story. Right? Interesting that too. Absolutely. Let's talk about the Johnny Carson event because I don't know a thing about that, so I'm just going to throw it out there to you.
Johnny Carson made, as many people did, comedians especially, made my career because I tried, my little hometown was having a centennial and they asked me to help with publicity. So I said, well, what could we do to get some publicity? And they said, well, you're our most famous person because I'd done some radio and TV. I said, we're in trouble. Let's adopt somebody. So we sat down and I wrote a press release, first one I'd ever written, and put in there that we want to give away a free cemetery plot and a free oil and lube in this little hometown. And I sent it off, but I printed too many. I sent out 44 letters to various news outlets. And you know what? 43 of the 44 failed. But the one that made it was to UPI. They called and said, hey, we're interested in it. We're going to put it on the wires. Let me get some quotes. Within 24 hours, I got a call from the Tonight Show, from a talent coordinator. Said, hey, Johnny was born in your state. We want to do something, but you got to guarantee we'll be first. Will you guarantee we'll be first? Because all of the other TV shows may come in and ask for it. Heck yes, Johnny Carson show call. So long story short, they came out, they talked about broadcasting the entire show via satellite to nationwide from Cooper. They'd never done it before. Front cover of Time, Newsweek, all of those. Well, he went back and when it was all said and done, they decided to take 3 of us out and we got to be on the Carson show through 2 commercial breaks. Tom Jones was a singer, but the Carson show didn't make my when I talked about all these ideas in the big bushel basket, like at the wine country, the one idea that I heard was satellite uplink, and I was working for the cable company and we were doing HBO free previews. And I started doing those via satellite to all of the different cable outlets. And so you could watch HBO. And then at the end of the movie, we'd come on and say, hey, you'd like HBO? Give us a call right now and win. We did $15 million in the first weekend. And that shot my career way up, all because we failed 43 of the 44 letters and all of that.
Give me the year you were on Carson, just for grins and giggles.
What's that again?
The year that you were on.
The year? Oh, man, you're going to give me a date. It's 1981. If you just Google Terry Rich, Johnny Carson, you may not recognize
I'm going to have to do that. I missed that one. I didn't get that it's on YouTube. In my research. I didn't get that in time. We'll have to make that happen. What is No Man?
When you're coming up with those ideas, all the ideas, because it's so important to get those diverse 100 ideas when you're brainstorming. No judgment is very important. So I call them the no mans. You ever sit in a meeting, you're coming up with ideas, and you always that one person way over there that goes, no, man, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. They immediately judge. And that's why it's so important in the Daring to Dream first step of all of this. Right. Is that there's no judgment, because every idea is a good idea. And even the lawyers and the accountants will have great ideas on that first step. Then you put them away for 10 minutes and you dare to act, where you get the lawyers and the accountants back in, and then they're going to say, it costs too much, or get sued on. And then you prioritize what works. And now you've got a team effort to get that really great $1 million idea.
So how did you become the idea dude? I mean, the idea dude, I love that. It's great branding. And tell us about some of your successful startups.
It's really came from just, I'm not afraid to try anything. And I got that, I think, from my parents, who, when I would try something, they'd laugh, say, okay, yeah, go ahead. Crazy idea. But they'd encourage me. And then the first company was this Heritage Communications in the cable, was just so entrepreneurial. Everything we touched turned to gold. So I love giving ideas, and it really proved itself well in the in the zoo, because here's a zoo that was pretty run down, run by the city. They were going to close it. They were losing $600,000, and we needed ideas. We didn't have to spend a lot of money. So I thought, you know, every kid that goes to a zoo, you go if you're between 2 and 10, but we need a new audience like millennials. So what do millennials like? We started brainstorming booze. They like to drink. So we started Zoo Brew, where we had a band, and it was at night.
Oh, wow.
Allowed. And last year they took in $50,000 just in booze. The other idea was, what else do we have in a zoo that's a lot of poop? I mean, every animal poops.
I was going to say, yeah.
So we started selling tiger poop because of all the deer eating plants. We found out that if you take that as a predator prey deal, that the deer wouldn't go near the plants because they smelt the tiger poop. So we started selling those for $20 a gallon. And I think we made $25,000 on that one summer.
Wow. Wow. All right. So give us a couple of the lessons that you might have learned along the way about, you know, entrepreneurship, how to become successful. I'm sure that everything you touched wasn't a success. So, you know, overcoming moments and sort of, you know, redirect moments.
Yep. My first redirect was right out of college. Let's talk about a failure first. First redirect was coming out of college. I was working some TV and I didn't see a 5 o'clock shadow. So I wrote Gillette and told them how much I love their razor, knowing that I would get a national TV commercial. Well, 2 weeks to the day. And during that time, I felt like when you play Powerball or Mega Millions, what happened? What would happen if I could do a national TV commercial? I got the letter back and it said, "Dear Mr. Rich, thanks for your complete satisfaction of your Track 2 razor. You wrote the wrong company. Gillette makes that, not shit. Here's their address." I failed, but that was one of the first times in failing that I got the urge that I'm going to do that. I made that one of my goals. I think the other is I wish I'd learned more how to relax. You know, you and I are kind of A-types and we keep going strong, but I didn't learn early enough on how to relax and recharge and all that when it's all said and done. But in all of the years, remember 43 of the 44 letters I failed on Carson. Nobody ever remembers my 43. But I learned that when they sent the men to the moon in '69, they were off course over 90% of the time. Think about that. You know, project managers say, you know, if we got everything that's got to be done this date, do this, do this, do this.
Right.
If they did that for NASA, they'd have counted them down and just said, "We'll see you in 2 weeks." But no, they were off course 90% of the time, which tells you, you know, if you fail and you really believe in a project as an entrepreneur, you do it. And the second is make sure you have enough cash flow. Many people always worry about their balance sheets with banks and everything else, but you got to have enough cash flow to get you through. And you don't want to just spend your entire earnings in life when you're starting a new company to start off with. If you're working somewhere, keep working and do nights and weekends until you have enough cash flow to break it even on the other side when you actually get into the business. Because most people don't remember they have to have insurance and workers' comp and all those things.
Right. You've got a 2-step process to idea generation. Tell us about it.
Well, the first step is daring to dream. And again, think about that bushel basket. Try to get everybody together, get 100 ideas in 10, 15 minutes. Every idea is a good idea. No judgment and all that. Second step in all of that is putting them aside, writing them down, and going back and looking at them, because you always have another idea with it, and actually prioritizing those ideas. That's truly the 2-step process. I still have $1 million idea. I haven't been able to figure out. I'm going to share it with you right now. When we did Mega Millions, they asked me to help with the publicity, the marketing. And I went home and I looked up and there was the moon, just a little fingernail up there. And I saw the dark side of the moon. And I thought, you know what? Why couldn't we find a spotlight or a laser and actually broadcast on the moon what the jackpot is? You know, if we could do that, we could own the moon as a billboard. I just haven't figured out how to get a strong enough light up there to be able to do that. There's $1 million idea.
How about this word COT? C-O-T, COT.
Well, we all get together. Yeah. When we're in a business, we sit in a room and we all try to brainstorm. And you can tell from an idea, dude, how many things we put out. And hopefully you've got anybody watching gets one idea in all this, but you always got everybody around the table. When I went to work at the lottery, all state employees. And so I'd come in, I'd say, "Hey, can we do this? Can we put an animal on this and paint the wall green, whatever?" And about 2 weeks later, the entire management team, they're melting down. And they said, "We just can't do it." And yeah, state employees can't do it. No. There's too many things. We can't do it. And so I said, "Well, let's talk through this." So we came up with a deal that when we did a memo, if you got an idea, send it to whoever, send it to everybody, but put in the memo line either one of 3 things: action required. Now, if I send that as a boss, that means you got to do it. Maybe that's 0.5% of everything I said. Second is FYI, for your information. And those probably 30-40%, just sometime read it. We're going to talk about it at some point, but here's some info. But the majority, if you're looking for brainstorming, is COT, and it means consider or throw away. Now, we put some ground rules with that. If that goes on in a memo, do not reply back saying, no, that's not going to work. Remember the no mans. Or, yeah, I kind of like that. I don't want any response. I just need to get it off my chest. And so we put that in, and all of a sudden the whole attitude can change, because they knew exactly what I was thinking, whether I was just giving them an idea or whether I wanted action required right away. Now, the beauty of that didn't work not only with the management team, but the management team took that to the other employees, and the entry-level employees started doing it. And it really worked well, because a receptionist might see that the chair in the front's about to break or it's badly stained. They're afraid to tell anybody about it or suggest to the CEO that we should change that chair. But when they sent me, so they do the old days, you had the idea box, they put it in that, and then 3 weeks later, maybe they heard, and then they complain in the break room. Management never listens to us. Well, with COT, they could send it and know they've given it. It isn't their job changing, because I've asked for the ideas, or their bosses asked for the idea. And all of a sudden, we got this whole new innovative environment within the company.
Awesome. Ding, ding, ding. That's the end of our show, Terry.
How fun. How fun.
That's the end of our show, but I wish it wasn't. You have been an absolute joy. What I asked this to a lot of my guests, and I'm going to ask you too, because with all of your successes, I mean, just a lifelong of a plethora, really, of just really, really good fun. It sounds like you've had quite an amazing life. Here's the question, and it cannot be marriage or children, and that is, what would you say that to date has been your crowning moment?
It'd have to be the Johnny Carson show, because it showed me that in a small state, a little farm kid could make national television, and take that and the idea, not so much of being on TV, but to take the idea of the satellite uplink and make a complete career out of all of that from the middle of the country when it's never been done before. So I love trying new ideas. And
I want to remind everybody they can find you at terryrich.com, correct? And your social also. Twitter, we've got Terry Speaks US. LinkedIn is TE Rich. And there you go. I think that's good for now. If we can find it.
Yeah, it's terryspeaks.com. Pretty easy to remember. Terryspeaks.com.
Oh, Terry Speaks. Forgive me. Thank you. Yes, terryspeaks.com. Okay.
We love giving. We do a lot of conferences and a lot of speaking and all of that, and I'd love to help, but we love doing these too. Thank you so much. Fantastic.
I will ask you to stay right there while I say goodbye to everybody else, and we will see you yet again, everyone, in the limelight. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of the In the Limelight podcast, intelligent media for the savvy entrepreneur. You can listen to this and all of my podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and Inspired News Radio. You'll find all of my videos and the In the Limelight digital magazine on clarissaburt.com. And don't forget to connect with me on social pretty much anywhere. Stay well until we meet again in the Limelight.